Nothing about this story is all right, is it? I mean, we all understand that businesses and business leaders have to think about their bottom line. They have to future-proof themselves. It's about long-term survival. But the way they've behaved, it's like they're thugs. You can't just terminate people without any due notice. And I know that they said the package is good and the redundancy is good, and that's great for people who want to take it. But there is so many different layers of this. It's also complicated. When you think of how many people have dropped the ball in this story, so you've got, the P&O sails under the United Arab Emirates. Now it's got a Cyprus flag, right? So it's already sailing under different countries, different laws, different authorities. Then you've got EU law that doesn't cover us in the UK. This is why French sailors and crew haven't been sacked, and it's all British staff. So there's all these balls that have been dropped. Then you've got the fact that P&O Ferries furloughed 1,400 of its staff during the pandemic. It cost us, the British taxpayer, £10 million.
Incredible.
Its parent company then paid out £250 million to shareholders. Like, seriously, what's that about? Now the pandemic's nearly over, they're sacking British staff that we supported.
But Mike, I suppose if you are going to fire people, though, you can't say you're fired next week because they might sabotage.
Look, that's the whole thing. Down on the south coast, I see P&O Ferries going in and out of Portsmouth all the time, OK? And I feel proud because it was a great British company. I know it's owned by investors in the Middle East now, but I still think it's a proud British brand name. So I don't want to see it dragged into the dirt like this. However, I'm old enough to remember the whopping print strike of '86 when Rupert Murdoch literally moved his operation out of Fleet Street with its antiquarian working practices and its, crumbling buildings and took them to Wapping overnight. And the printers were smashed. They were told no more jobs and replaced by electricians from the electrical unions, OK? They did a deal and they got in. That completely revolutionised the newspaper industry and, in my opinion, gave newspapers in this country another 30 or 40 years of life because they swept away all the old practices, brought in the new ones and made the business profitable again. Now, if they can revive the industry, the ferry crossing shipping industry, some good might come of it. But they've clearly there taken the attitude that it's no good anymore negotiating with RMT, the main union involved, because they say they're too militant, that they are not pliable, they won't listen to compromises. That's the side of the management. Whereas the unions say, horrendous bullying, throwing our people out of work. But as Jeremy just said, you couldn't say to them, by the way, this is your last trip, pal, and when you get back from this one from Calais, you won't be getting back on the ship, because they'd have held the ship hostage.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they would. But obviously, if you just simply terminate them in an instant, it causes a lot of anger. And let's have a listen to an MP speaking about it.
These are hard-working, dedicated staff who have given years in service to P&O. The way they have been treated today is wholly unacceptable. And my thoughts are first and foremost with them.
So, he's the government, they don't like it.
But they're seeking favour, I think, because it looks so awful. As Jasmine said, nobody comes out of this looking very good at all. So it's kind of jumped on a bandwagon of, well, this is shocking behaviour. But at the end of the day, it's an industry fighting for its life.
Well, I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to think of examples where you march people out the building. Now, a good example is the radio industry. If you'll know this, if you say to somebody, you're leaving the station. Right? You've got to say yesterday was your last show. What you cannot have is the Dave Lee Travis situation. You can't, or I think Danny Baker did it as well. They said tomorrow's your last show, and then the person goes on the air and slags off the management.
Yes, exactly.
So maybe this is the same principle here, Jasmine. You've got to march them out the radio station.
Do you know what the best example was? Sorry to interrupt.
Go on.
Was Piers Morgan at the Mirror, when there was a debate about whether these pictures he'd published were fake or real about soldiers misbehaving in Iraq. And he was called up to the managing director's office and told, look, I'm awfully sorry, but we don't want you anymore, you're out. He wasn't even allowed to go back to his desk to get his jacket in his office or his mobile phone.
Wow.
He was marched out the front door and he had to borrow somebody's phone to ring his PA to get her to bring all his stuff down.
Maybe that's the practical side of it, Jasmine.
There isn't any practical side when you're thinking of the duty of care of your staff and employees and passengers. I mean, look at this scenario, right? This is like a giant chessboard. It's all about power, wealth and money, all at the top with governments and, you know, the parent companies in Saudi Arabia and their links to Russia. This is all a massive power play. And the passengers and the staff are the pawns at the bottom who are getting screwed over, frankly.
Yeah, and also
you know?
the parent company's got loads of money. You think
Loads of money. They're sponsoring golf tournaments and all sorts.
I think they should pay back their furlough money.
Do you know, the Merchant Navy Pension Fund for P&O Ferries retirees has a 146 million deficit. DP World won't fund it, but they paid to rename the golf tournament the DP World Tour. They're stumping up 147 million prize money for that. So they're ready to pay for golf holes, but not pension
That's
holes.
the nature
of
an ongoing
corporate
business. They're losing 100 million a year. So that business can't run. It would have to close down.
There we go.
You've got to do it ethically.
It's a bit of a scandal. And it's not... P&O Ferries and P&O Cruises are different, interestingly. So if you're on a cruise with P&O, that's a different thing. Don't worry.